So we'd like to invite you to pull up a chair, grab some shade, hang out with me and the rest of the herd right here on the Cinnabar. What are you doing? Well, if you enjoyed the episode where my wife and I shoot this deluxe medium frame Colt Lightning, you're in for a treat today, because today we're moving up to the big guns. We've got a couple of large frame Colt Lightnings to shoot today, and I think the wife's going to be along to help out a little bit with this one too. So stick around. This is shaping up to be fun. Well guys, happiness, even for a Winchester guy like me, is being married to a Colt collector and getting to take her guns out from time to time and do some shooting. These are two beautiful old large frame Colt Lightnings. Both of them are special order guns. See, the one on top's got a pistol grip, plain pistol grip, shotgun butt with a rubber butt plate. One on the bottom is has just a standard crescent butt plate. But if you look down to the far end of the gun, you see that it's an extra length rifle. It's got a 30-inch barrel. The standard was 28 for Colt Lightning large frames, except for the 50 calibers, which was 26, just kind of like the 76 Winchesters. These are both 45-85s, which will shoot 45-70, and we're going to be shooting some 45-70 today through them. They're just fantastic old rifles. So stick around, we'll get all set up, we'll come back and we'll put a few rounds through these. Okay, so today we're joined by my lovely bride, who wanted to come up and shoot this beautiful pistol grip large frame. So if you watched our medium frame video, you know that we have to open the action to be able to load. So we'll just load 4 cartridges in today, and she can decide after the first one if she wants to shoot any more. Now she's had a couple of shoulder surgeries in the last year and a half, so these heavy old large frames, she has trouble holding them up and keeping them on target. So we're going to shoot off of sandbags today. This ranching lifestyle is hard on our old bodies. Now I'm having trouble getting that fourth one. There it goes. Okay, so we'll close that, and now she's ready to rack one and fire. Good shot.
I'll do one more.
Wow, those pack a punch.
Yeah, that's enough.
About to knock my target stand over. Well, that's some good shooting, hon.
Oh, thank you.
Now some of you have probably noticed that we're shooting on water today, and we don't encourage people to do that, but we've got kind of a unique situation here where we're alone on thousands of acres here, and there's a great backstop on the other side of the pond. One of the things that you'll notice in watching this video is, you know, we're shooting a real heavy, slow bullet, and you'll see a couple of them skipping across the water out there. So it gives you a pretty good idea of, you know, you really have to have a safe environment if you're going to shoot anywhere near water to do that. Because even with a slow, heavy bullet like this, they get to skipping across there. You can imagine what a light, really fast velocity bullet would do in a similar situation. So always be safe out there when you're shooting. Oh, had a bite. Enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about these large frames before we get to shooting. Now, Colt came out with a medium frame Lightning rifles in 1885, just right on the tail end of the Colt Burgess lever action rifle that they gave up on after just maybe a year and a half of production. The medium frames were moderately successful, so it wasn't just a couple years later in 1887 that Colt came out with a small frame version in 22 rimfire, and then these large frame versions in 1887 as well, with some of the heavier hitting calibers. Kind of to compete with Marlin and Winchester's lever action rifles that were being produced with a lot harder hitting calibers than the medium frames had. The large frames were not very successful. And there's a lot of conjecture as to why, but I think a lot of it comes with just timing. Now, they competed pretty well with it, like the 1876, and I've got a 76 here to show in comparison. The 76 is a very large, kind of a heavy, ungainly gun to carry. They're a great rifle. I love shooting, but you know, they are a big, heavy rifle, and the large frame is very similar. You know, the receiver isn't as long because we don't have this toggle link action in the Lightning, so they were able to shorten that part of it up. But weight-wise and length-wise, they're very similar, and so they compete pretty well with the 76. But think about 1987. Marlins 1881s are out in 4570, and they've been out for a few years. And Winchester just came out with John Browning's great design on the 1886. So that's even a more compact, even though they're a pretty heavy gun as well. But they're more compact, and so, you know, they don't compete as well with like the 1881 Marlins and the 1886 Winchesters. So these large frames really just never took off, and they're pretty scarce today. Now, there's some conjecture about how many of them were made. According to the official count from Colt, there were, I believe the exact number is 6,496. So basically 6,500 of them. But we know that there's some more out there above that serial number range, because some of them have turned up. My good friend and mentor, Eldon Penner, who is one of the world's leading authorities on Colt Lightning rifles and a specialist gunsmith on Colt Lightning rifles, has had some in his shop that have been over 6,500. So we know that the serial numbers went higher than what Colt has in their records. But the other side of that is that none have turned up from roughly 2,000 to 4,000 serial number, and there's nothing in the factory records for serial numbers in that range. So it's believed that there are about 2,000 of them that never got produced, and so, you know, it's conjecture, but, you know, sales were not good, obviously, and so maybe Colt, in order to make it sound like there were more of them being produced than there actually were and sold, skipped a couple thousand serial numbers just to make it look a little better. It's hard to say really at this point, but so it looks like about 4,500 is probably a good number for the number of Colt Lightnings, which is a very small production run. When you consider 1876 Winchesters, you know, there were roughly 70,000 or so of those made. 1886 Winchesters, there was around 150,000 of those made, a little more. So 4,500 of these large frames is a very, very small number. So they're quite scarce today. Who knows how many of them have survived over all these years. So they're a very collectible gun today, and a really an interesting gun and a fun gun to shoot, although they're quite heavy, and particularly like this one with an extra length barrel. Now the calibers are a little strange too, because they're kind of a mix of Winchester 76 calibers and their 86 calibers. So they came in what they call a 38, 56, 255. Now the first number is caliber, of course, 38 caliber in that instance. 56 was the grains of black powder, and the 255 was the weight of the bullet, 255 grain bullet. So in that instance, there's your 38, 56, 255, which was a Winchester 1886 cartridge, although a lot of these are loaded a little bit differently and called a little bit differently, and then the next one is going to show that. The next one up is a 4060 260. Now a 4060, if you're a Winchester fan, is a 76 caliber, but actually the 4060 in a large frame Colt Lightning is the same cartridge as a 4065, which is an 1886 caliber. So see, it all gets a little bit confusing now if we're trying to compare cartridges from the two different rifles. The next cartridge up is a 4560 300. So a 45-60 is a 76 caliber, and it is. It uses the same cartridge, and those are quite rare because they weren't really very popular. The next cartridge up, of course, was much more popular because it's much more standard. Now they called it a 45-85-285, which is what both of these large frame Lightnings are. And those use a 45-70 cartridge, although they call them something a little bit different. They use a lighter bullet, got a little more powder in them, so they were kind of hot rodding the 45-70 a little bit. And also I think it didn't hurt to make it sound like it was a lot bigger than a 45-70, calling it a 45-85. And of course that's an 86 cartridge. Winchester was never successful because of the length of a 45-70, making them work in a 1876. The 1886 was the first one they were successful with. Then the largest caliber was the 50-95 Express, they called them. They didn't use the weight of those. They just called them a 50-95 Express on the Lightning large frames, and that was again another 76 caliber. So it's a mix of 1876 Winchester and 1886 Winchester calibers that they used in the Colt Lightning large frames. Okay, so I think we've hashed it out and give you kind of a quick little thumbnail of a Colt Lightning large frame. So it's probably about time to get down to shooting these things. And somewhere along the line, my earplug is in my pocket. I don't want to shoot these without earplugs in for sure. Okay, so we're going to move my chair out of the way here, and let's see. Why don't we shoot this long barrel one up first? Okay, here we go. We'll rack one in the chamber. Oh, it does a number. Uh-oh. We didn't get one chambered apparently. Nope. Apparently I short stroked it. Oh, that's awesome. Uh-oh, I am having a little trouble here. I'm used to that medium frame I've been shooting. There we go. Oh, we better kill that one off. Oh, shot right over the top of it. Oh, we're shooting through it. Oh, that's great fun. Great fun. Okay, now this pistol grip. This is just a beautiful rifle. Very high condition, very unusual to have a plain pistol grip, and really unusual pistol grip at all. There's not a lot of deluxe models out there in the large frames. Okay, let's see what we can do with this one. Oh, it does a number. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, we got one more left. Let's try that one. Oh no, we got one left after all. We'll hit some steel with this one. Oh, what great fun. Great fun these large frames are. It's a rare treat. You know, there's just not many of them out there. It's a rare thing to even run across one, but to be able to shoot a couple of them like this, what a great time. Okay, so I have to make sure that this long barrel one's cycling properly. You know, I had a couple of them that didn't feed quite right, so you know, it's not just purely for enjoyment. This is kind of a scientific experiment to make sure that it's functioning correctly. And besides, I just couldn't stand not shooting it again. So I found a couple more jugs and an old squash, and we're going to see if can't put some hurt on them. Uh-oh, didn't cycle again. I don't know if it's me or if it's the gun. Oh, it's the gun. It didn't quite cycle that time. I had to kind of double clutch it. There we go. Oh, that's so much fun. Well, now I just got to see if I can ever talk the wife into letting me shoot her .50 caliber.
Until next time, happy trails from the Cinnabar.